Chapter 13. José Cigarito's Journey. The desert healer Gomez took the girl in after her paw fell, but her blood was Lightfoot's, and her eyes carried the weight of her people's pain. The Janeros owed the Mescaleros a debt for his sacrifice, swearing to help whenever the call came. De Leon felt a chill in his bones. The trouble weren't coming from the Comanche, he reckoned, but from them Mexicans. What kind of hate was brewing to spark a war with the Mescalero? The preacher, that lanky German, with a voice like a schoolmarm and a smile like a sheep mongst wolves, rode with Joaquin's crew now. They said it was for his protection, but everybody knew it was to keep an eye on him. Come sundown, when shadows stretched long and folks only spoke truths in whispers, Heinrich muttered to himself, "Something's gonna catch fire soon, bigger'n any torch." Now José Cigarito, he lit out for Pisago Cabezon, chief of the Choconin Apache, riding 2 days through dust and wind so thick it'd choke a mule. He was plumb tuckered, but his eyes still burned like a campfire. The Choconin greeted him proper, like a man whose name walks in front of him. The young'uns dropped their eyes, and the elders gave him that quiet nod that means something. Pisago himself stepped up, wrapped in a red blanket his wife wove with hands patient as the hills. "My brother from over the mountains rides with a heavy look," says Pisago. "That means the wind's carrying trouble. Come into my lodge, José Cigarito. We got food and straight talk for guests." Pisago's wife, a woman with eyes like jade and hands tough as leather, served up rabbit meat seasoned with herbs from the cliffs. As José ate, he looked up and spoke plain. "I ain't here with prayers, but with truth. I seen shadows moving in the desert and fire in the Mexicans' eyes. Comanche are stirring up north. I'm asking, brother, will you stand with us when the wind brings death instead of dust?" Pisago went quiet, then put a hand to his chest. "The Choconin got blood in this land. If anybody comes to take it, our blood'll rise over theirs. Send word, and we'll come. Till then, we watch, like owls for a storm." Come dawn, José hitched his reins and headed west for Soquia, the Nednney chief. 7 days he rode, through deserts littered with busted Spanish ruins and cacti standing like silent guards. When he rolled into the Nednney camp, he was caked in dust, sun-scorched, eyes red as embers. Nobody said a word. They didn't need to. His coming alone, half dead from the trail, spoke louder than any speech. The men sharpened blades and oiled bows, the women tied back their hair and started smoking meat for a march that ain't started yet. In Soquila's teepee, José sat afore the chief. "I come 'cause the wind ain't bringing rain, it's bringing blood. You Janeros gave your word once. I'm here to ask for honor again." Soquila, his face hard as stone, stared into the fire. "When a man lets the desert wind burn his skin to reach us, he don't come with empty talk. I hear she Hastine's spirit in your voice. We honor him and we honor you. If the warpath's to be walked, we'll walk it. 200 riders will follow you, and more'll be ready if the ground shakes." José bowed his head. Words weren't needed no more. He stayed a day to rest his horse and patch his wounds, and then rode out, leading 200 Nednney warriors back to his village. The Choconin's promise hung silent behind him. They'd come when the time was ripe. For now they'd perch like hawks on high rocks, watching. Every twitch of a Comanche or Mexican boot was to be seen. Messengers would ride like the wind at the first sign of trouble. War hadn't come yet, but its smell was in the air like red dust for a desert storm. Chapter 14. Galeana. Under the blazing sun of 41, Joaquin El Cuervo's ragtag expedition plodded southwest toward the speck of a town called Galeana, a place so forgot by time and the law that even the buzzards seemed to pass it by with a yawn. 'Twas a dusty old hamlet, mind you, with just enough taverns to drown a man's wits and his wages both. The caravan, now puffed up with 3 extra fellers and 4 pack mules, was in a mighty need of provisions, fodder, water, and something to fill the belly. Every mule's hoof kicked up a cloud of dust so thick it might have been the devil's own snuff, and every soldier felt that desert dryness creep into his very soul like sand in a boot. Off yonder, the Mescalero warriors moved like ghosts born of the cracked earth, unseen by the weary travelers. The soldiers' march toward Galeana didn't slip by unnoticed, no sir. One of them Mescalero scouts sent up the signal, 3 columns of smoke rising lazy-like into the sky. Then he swung atop his pony and lit out for Canyon de Chelly. Other sentinels passed the word quick as a jackrabbit, and Gomez, sharp as a tack, read the sign. The white men were coming. 'Twas just as De Lay Sali, that old healer, and the smiling gal, 2 souls who heard the earth's whispers, had foretold. They'd seen it plain as day, like nature itself was spilling secrets in their ears. Who were these white folks hunting for their tribe? And what for? Gomez pondered this, and it sat uneasy in his mind, like a burr under a saddle. Now, whenever Ramos caught sight of Annalise, time itself seemed to stop dead, like a bird plugged by a hunter's shot. Lately, he'd turned mighty pious, taking a shine to the good book, reading it for hours during siesta. Truth be told, he weren't reading a lick. That Bible, belonging to the preacher's daughter, was in German, and Ramos couldn't make heads nor tails of it. But he'd found a sly trick. He'd borrow that book and slip love notes between its holy pages. "Señorita," he'd scrawl, "if war had your face, I'd fling down my sword and raise up my heart." Come the end of siesta, he'd hand the book back, giving Annalise time to read his note and scribble one of her own afore the squadron's next break. He swore he'd fetch her a gift in Galeana, maybe a scarf, or some carved trinket to mark his love. He also reckoned it wise to jaw about faith with her pa, Heinrich. That way time passed smoother, he learned a thing or two, and he won the old man's trust to boot. 'Twarn't long afore José Cigarito and Soquila strutted twixt the tents, leading 200 Galeana Nednney warriors all mounted and raring to go. The scent of gunpowder already tickled their noses like a storm brewing in the air. At the warriors' fire, the talk was short and sharp as a skinning knife. Our scouts counted 18 mounted soldiers, with a dozen pack mules loaded to the gills. There's a wagon, too, pulled by 4 horses. Ain't sure what's in it. Could be rich pickings, or maybe they're hauling a cannon or 2. Let 'em get too close, and we're done for. A hungry warrior's a wolf, lean and fierce. A full-bellied soldier's just a bear snoring in his den. Let 'em roll into Galeana. Their stomachs'll be lazy, and their minds fogged with whiskey. They won't suspect a thing. They'll reckon this Mexican dirt's their shield, but the land only listens to them what listens to it. And right now, the land's whispering to the Apache. Soldiers what fall asleep laughing, wake up blubbering, or don't wake at all. We hit 'em just as they leave Galeana. Their wagons'll be stuffed with fresh goods. We'll cover ourselves in glory, and our Nednney brothers will ride home with spoils to make their women folks sing. When Ramos's crew rolled into Galeana, the sun had spilled clean out of the sky, leaving behind a thirst that'd choke a camel. Most of Joaquin El Cuervo's men were young bucks, scarce past 25, who'd seen more death and dames in their short lives. When they spied the tavern Las Estrellas Brillantes, they charged in like hogs to a slop trough. Sergeant Barrios busted through the door hollering, "Who wants tequila? Catch me and the drinks are free." In 15 minutes flat, 2 soldiers got tossed out the window like sacks of taters. "Mescalero!" bellowed Ramos, slapping his hat on the table. "Get over here afore a soldier dies of thirst." "Ain't had a drop since the Revolution of '38, swore another, as if he'd been leading the charge back then. The barmaid, with a bosom bigger'n a rain barrel, sashayed about with a teasing slowness, knowing full well what was coming. One soldier fell head over heels for her at first glance, but afore he could confess his heart, he upchucked on her sandals. She sighed, doubled his tab, and kept on pouring. A drunken guitarist strummed the neck of a bottle, while the fat sergeant danced atop a table with a pilfered goat, swearing she was finer than the governor's wife. Then he tripped and fell, and the room roared with laughter. Barrios dusted himself off, claiming it was an artistic tumble planned all along. "This here's Mexican freedom, compadres," he crowed. "Tequila and tango." Then came the donkey races, using the villagers' beasts, which were about as cooperative as a cat in a washtub. Chaos broke loose, and the betting squabbles turned into rowdy drinking songs. The night ended with one soldier passed out in the road, covered in feathers, after trying to swipe a chicken from a coop.